Cool, so that's looking good. I'm gonna go to my layers because the next thing I wanna do is I wanna take all of this and I just wanna mess with it a little bit. I wanna use some of the new liquefying effects on it. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to swipe to the right on all of these to select all 3 layers, and then I'm going to put them in their own group. I'm gonna just name this group, rename, I'm just gonna call it banner. And since I'm going to be experimenting, I'm going to swipe to the left on that group and I'm going to duplicate the whole group and I'm going to toggle one of the banners off. So the reason that we have 2 of these is just in case I mess one of them up, I still have my backup. The other thing I'm going to do is flatten this layer. I've actually recorded this part of the tutorial 3 times. And every time it crashes, you can apply effects on multiple layers at once, but for whatever reason, the effect I'm about to do has been crashing in Procreate, so be aware of that. It's probably going to be fixed by the time I actually post this tutorial. This is just very brand new stuff that was just released a few days ago. I have selected my arrow tool in the upper left-hand corner. Now I want to add a flag effect to this banner. So what I'm going to do is I have down at the bottom freeform, distort, and warp. I could distort it. I could actually do a neat little 3D effect with the banner if I wanted to. Right now, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to warp it. I want to make it look like a flag. So maybe I take this top point and I move it down, and I take this bottom point and I move it like that. I can kind of bend these inward a little bit and basically make this look kind of like a flag. I can take these middle points and make certain things bigger or smaller if I so desire. So something like that. I like how this is coming along. So there we go. That is looking pretty good. What I like about applying this effect afterwards, it would be very hard to make the words birthday fit properly on this banner if it was warped ahead of time. But by doing it after the fact like this, I think it works pretty well. And then when I'm done and everything looks good, I just tap on the arrow and it's set. So our next step is to add some of the little details, some other things that are going to make this look cool. So I'm going to toggle off the banner. I'm just going to turn off that layer for now, and I'm going to create a new layer. And let's create some lollipops, because why not? Let's do it. So I'm going to go to my paintbrush, I'm going to go to inking. I'm going to be using my technical pen. Nice solid line. Let's grab a color. Let's just grab like an orange. So let's keep to our bright color palette here. Make sure the pen is on right, and then I'm just going to draw a couple of these round sucker shapes. Actually, I think right now I'm just going to draw one, and I'm going to fill it in, and then I'm going to drag this over and pick a kind of a yellowish color that's very similar. And I'm going to tap on that layer, and I'm going to alpha lock that layer. And then maybe I come in here and I just paint in some of this color, you know, in an X formation. What I want this to look like is a swirly lollipop. So I'm setting up the colors in order to swirl that. How do you plan on swirling it, you ask? Well, I am going to use the new liquefy effect. So in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to tap on that magic wand. Gonna go to liquefy, and since alpha lock is on, it's not gonna let me do this, so that's cool. So I'm gonna say open layers, and I'm gonna go ahead and toggle off alpha lock. Now I'm gonna go to the magic wand, go to liquefy, and then down along the bottom I have twirl. I could choose clockwise or counterclockwise. How big is this? Let's make it big. And then when I tap in the middle, what happens is I get the swirl that I'm looking for. It is a little bit messy, but that's okay. I can always take my eraser and come on in here and clean this up a little bit. Make this look the way I need it to look, so it's a nice clean lollipop shape, kind of like that. There we go. That's a neat way to apply the effect. I'm going to come in here and just clean it up a little bit more. There we go. Nice. Now another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a stick, but before I do that, why don't we change our background color to like a very, very light shade of blue. So that way, when I go back to my lollipop layer, I can come in here and I can make the stick white, and it's not going to be really that noticeable, but it should work out pretty well. Something like that. In fact, I could come in here and drag my white over there. And then if I want a little bit of a shadow, I can take a grayish color and put that right underneath, kind of like this. And when I zoom out, it's looking pretty good. I might make my background blue just a touch darker, not too much. I'm gonna see how the banner looks on that blue. Okay, the banner looks good. And now I'm gonna duplicate by swiping to the left on the layer and tapping duplicate my sucker. And I'm going to do it again, duplicate. And now I can take these and I can transform them with the arrow tool, but I'm just going to do a free form and I'm going to tilt these on a little bit of an angle. I'm going to come down, grab the next layer, which I'm actually going to move to the top. Actually, I'll grab the bottom layer. That'll work just as well. So I grab the bottom layer and I can take my fingers and just twist it that way and make that line up just like that. There we go. Tap my arrow tool when I'm done. And I'm going to zoom in on this bunch of suckers. Now I want some shadows on these. So above each layer, I'm just going to create another layer. I'm going to grab the color black. This is similar to what we did with the strawberry way back at the beginning. I'm going to grab my technical pen, and then I can come in here and add a little bit of a shadow on that. And of course, black looks horrible, but that's okay because we're going to change it, as we always do. Once we get it in there, now I can come in here, I can tap on that layer style, I can change the opacity, which will improve it dramatically. But also while I'm here, I'm going to go to contrast, and I'm going to set this to overlay, because that's going to bring through more of that color. That's going to allow me to darken that as well. When you're shading things in, overlay is definitely your friend. I'm just going to come in here and do a little bit more. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go above the other sucker layer. I'm going to tap on the plus to create a new layer, and you guessed it, I'm going to paint with black. I'm going to paint it black, just like that. There we go. Open my layers, tap on the letter N, go to contrast, set it to overlay, change the opacity. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right, so that is set. Those three suckers look good. Again, I'm going to go to my layers and I'm going to swipe so that all of these are selected, and I'm going to put them all in one group. I'm going to turn on my birthday banner and I'm going to move these below that banner. And now I can move them around. I'm actually going to duplicate them. Slide to the left, hit duplicate, and now I have the originals, but I can come in here and I can position these where I want them to be. And I can take my banner, I can position that, make that a little smaller or bigger as I see fit. And this is why I duplicated my suckers. That looks like they got cut off on the side. So let's delete that and let's tap on it again and duplicate it again, turn it on. Oh no, my sucker got cut off. Well, hey, that's all right. We can do some surgery here. I'm gonna open this thing up. This is the layer that got cut up. I don't know. Let's turn it over here. Let's see if you can see it better. So you can see that layer 8, it got cut up. So I'm going to swipe to the right. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take the other layer 8, swipe to the right. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to move it above the shadow. And then I'm going to grab my arrow tool. And I'm just going to do this all over again. And I'm going to position it so that it looks good over the shadow. Boom. Nudge it over a little bit. There we go. Arrow tool it. So that looks good. Now I'm going to take this group, which I'm going to rename Sucker Group. Suckers. There we go. And I'm going to take that. I'm going to duplicate it again. We're going to move it to the other side this time. We can twist it and turn it. I think people will get the idea. There we go. So what else can we do to help this stand out? It might look kind of cool if there was a shadow or something underneath the banner. So let's go to our layers. And to make this shadow, let's distort this. So I'm going to take my banner. I'm going to slide it to the left and I'm going to duplicate it. And then let's grab our arrow tool. We have our transforms here. I'm going to go to distort, which allows us to do our 3D stuff. But instead of going 3D, I'm just going to grab the top and I'm going to slide it down like that. Now that looks weird for now, but trust me on this. I'm going to tap my arrow to turn that off. And now I want this to be black, and it's already set to alpha lock, so that is perfect for me. I'm just going to take a brush. I need a big old brush. I'm going to grab my hard airbrush, and it's already big, so I'm just going to go in there and color it black. Now most good shadows aren't pure black, so we're going to set the transparency as well. I'm going to go to my layers, tap on the letter N, and scrub my opacity down. Also, most shadows are a little bit blurry, so I'm going to go to my magic wand, and I'm going to go down to Gaussian blur, which is in adjustments, and then taking my finger, I can slide it up to make it blur more. Of course, this isn't working because alpha lock is on. So let me go here to my layers, tap on it, and turn off alpha lock. Now let's try that again. Go to our magic wand, go to Gaussian blur. I'm going to slide my finger to the right, and you saw that blurring. So you can figure out how blurry do I want to make that drop shadow. That looks pretty good to me. And in fact, I might take that drop shadow and just nudge it up a little bit like that. That looks good. And lastly, I want to add a little bit of texture to my background. So I'm going to go to my layers, I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to drag this right above the background. This is going to be my texture layer. So let's tap and hold to grab this background color, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I think that's what I'm going to try first. Then I'm going to go to my paint brushes, and I'm going to go back to my painting brushes again because I want to use that damp brush again. I want to keep my textures consistent throughout the painting. And now I'm going to make it a really big brush by going to the left hand side and changing the size. And then underneath it, I'm just going to come in here and kind of tap it. You can hear my pencil on here making the noise. I'm going to make that texture, and I'm going to get it in there by tapping it into place. There we go. I can even go in here and make it a touch darker and do it again underneath the sign and by the lollipops a little bit. It adds a little bit of contrast to the lollipop sticks, which I like. And maybe up here. And then I could do it again. I could grab a little bit of a darker one, come in here, and again, I don't want to overdo this. I just gonna get a little darkness behind the birthday sign to add some personality to it. So there we go. That is our banner. The goal of this exercise is really just to find some new and creative ways to use these new features that have been added to Procreate. So go out into the world, keep drawing, have fun, and come up with some cool ways of your own of using some of this new stuff.